Okay. But for them, well, they're used to that, and they can go right along. It was Charles Swindoll in writing. He wrote about growing strong in the seasons of life, and he talked about fear. F-E-A-R. Fear. Well, have you ever met fear? He calls it fear is a beast. You sure have. I mean, it can creep into your life in 12 different ways or more. Fear. I remember leaving Kay at Taylor University over in Indiana, and it was her first year of college. And we went through the parent orientation, and Jane and I and her brothers her younger brother was in the back seat, and there she stood at a curbside, and we said to her, I said to Jane, "Don't look back." Because she looked back, she'll want me to turn around and go get her. We've got to keep going because she's got to grow up more and more. Okay, now when we think of fear, well, there's the fear of failure, isn't there? Some people have the fear of heights. I don't like to go up high. To open place. Same with Pastor Park. You don't like heights like this. Now we go to amusement park. Forgive me for mentioning Kay again, but we ride over Six Flags or another place, and we get in those buckets, and they take you way up over the park, and she's leaning out over the side. Where am I? On the floor. I don't want to see outside. Too high for me. Well, we think about it. Fear of failure and heights and crowds. Fear of disease? Sure. Well, I think of Waris. That was his name. He came from the country of Pakistan. Fine Christian young man. He left his wife and 3 children in Pakistan. He had an electronics store, but he was persecuted a great deal by Muslims. He was a Christian, a committed Christian. But he came to America so that he could secure a nice job, and his wife and children could come over here. And when he came, he left a wife and 3 children, and then there was another child on the way when he came. While he was still here, that child was born. But he began working 2 jobs so he could save up enough money to get his wife and children over here. But as far as I know, it never happened. He probably became disillusioned. Now, if he went back to Pakistan, there's persecution there. I don't know. It was a cultural deal, and they would say, well, you're a failure. Going back is a failure. So the fear of failure is real. The fear of death. The fear of heights or crowds or disease. The fear of rejection. The fear of unemployment. Or what others are saying about you. Sometimes it may be the fear of moving away. The fear of height or depth, going deep, or distance, or as I mentioned, death, or the fear of being yourself, or the fear of buying something, or the fear of selling something, or the fear of having financial reversal, or the fear of war, or of dark, or of being alone. Now, God helped me overcome that one about the fear of the dark. I remember having a fear of the dark as a youngster. Well, I think back on why did I have a fear of the dark? Well, the neighborhood we grew up in, that I grew up in, wasn't the safest place. But I had a brother-in-law who would get drunk once in a while, and I didn't know if he was going to come in, beat the door down, come in, harm my sister, or any one of us. And so there was a fear of the dark. But God helped me overcome that. Now, someone said, Jesus said that God is aware of everything that happens, even in sparrows. Little birds, God knows about it. He knows about the hair on our head, how many hairs we have. He said that we are more valuable. You and I are more valuable than many sparrows. Now, don't let sometimes you see people wear headbands, like athletes wear headbands for one reason or another. And somebody said, don't let your head size expand when you hear this. But you are God's greatest creation. Did you know that? You and myself. You can't believe that about me, I know, but you know about yourself. You're God's greatest creation. That's how it is. Now, God places great value on us. And so we don't have to worry, and that's easy to say, about personal threats or difficult trials. You see, difficult trials that come our way or people threaten us personally, that doesn't take away God's love or dislodge His Spirit from within us. But we want to watch out. We want to watch out. It doesn't mean that all of our troubles will just go by. Because we say God will help us, and we say, well, we won't have any more troubles. No, I'm not saying that. Oh, no. You'll notice earlier in Matthew chapter 10, in verse 16. Now, we read together 26 through 33, but Matthew 10, verse 16, it says, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. When we think in these terms, that's so. One thing we want to say, and you'll notice on your outline in the bulletin, fear is a terrible thing. But we want to say more than that. But that's the first thing we want to say. You'll notice on your outline, it says, fear is a terrible thing. Now, it's been said, all of us are afraid of something. All of us. Nobody's exempt from that. Some of us disguise our fears better than others. We act like, well, nothing's wrong, we don't have any fears. No, we've all had our fears. Fear can make our lives miserable. Have you ever seen the movie or the film? It's called Shawshank Redemption. I thought sure some of you have seen that film. Have you seen that film? Okay, all right. Now, all right. A little more connection here. My family thinks I've watched it too much, and I've watched parts of it too much. But anyway, I do, and it comes on once in a while, and I've seen it through 2 or 3 times, and I see different parts of it at times. And if it were on again, I'd probably watch the whole thing, because there are a lot of lessons in that movie. Well, when you think about it, it's an award-winning film. Fear is a big issue from many angles in Shawshank Redemption. The posters promoting that film said this: fear can hold you prisoner. Any fear that we might have, the wrong kind of fear, can hold you prisoner, or me. On the other hand, hope can set you free. The hope in the Lord can just set us free. Now, it goes on to talk about that little guy in the film called Brooks Hadlin. He was a little guy. And here's one character. He said, that man, another person said, that Brooks Hadlin had been in that prison for 50 years. Can you imagine? We can't imagine it. We can think about it, but not really imagine being in prison for 50 years in a place. And he said, that's all he knows, being in prison. In fact, he's an important man in prison. He's an educated man. He's important. Outside, he's nothing. He's just used up. He's got arthritic hands. What can he do? He probably can't even get a library card. Someone commented about Brooks. He said, these walls are funny. First, you go into a prison and you're sentenced there. And you hate these walls that keep you in because you never go out. You hate these walls. And then he said enough time passes and you begin to get used to them, and then you depend on these walls. That's when they say you are, quote, institutionalized, unquote. Now, they send you here for life. That's exactly what you get, a part that goes away. Life. Now, the truth of this comes home when Brooks Hadlin, who's been in prison for 50 years, he's released. You think he's free? I don't have to be in these walls anymore. He doesn't know what to do. 50 years inside the walls and you get out. What kind of things would have changed? My. But when we think of this, the constraints of a prison, he didn't make his own decisions in prison. Others made the decisions for him. Well, when we think about it, Brooks Hadlin is out.